Sometimes, the people we least expect to meet become the ones who change our lives forever. One cold night, a poor single dad opened his door to a stranger who looked lost and frightened. He didn't know that by showing her kindness, he was about to step into a story of love, healing, and miracles. If you're new here, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories that touch the heart, because sometimes, the story you need most finds you when you least expect it. Daniel Hayes lived in a small, rundown apartment on the outskirts of the city. At 34, he carried the weary look of a man who had seen too much hardship. Once, he had dreams of building his own carpentry business, of traveling, of giving his family the life they deserved. But those dreams had been cut short the day his wife, Emily, passed away 3 years ago, leaving him alone with their daughter, Lily. Lily was only 6, a bubbly girl with golden hair and big blue eyes that reminded Daniel so much of her mother. She was his world, his reason to get up each morning. He worked 2 jobs, fixing furniture by day and washing dishes at a diner by night, just to keep food on the table. Life was a struggle, but Daniel carried it with quiet strength. Still, some nights, when Lily was asleep, he sat by the window with his head in his hands, wondering how long he could keep this up. The rent was late, his savings were gone, and his old truck was one repair away from dying completely. Yet he never complained in front of Lily. For her, he smiled. For her, he kept moving. It was one of those freezing winter nights when the unexpected happened. Daniel had just tucked Lily into bed when he heard a knock at the door. At first, he thought it might be a mistake. Nobody visited him. He had no friends nearby, no family left. But the knocking came again, urgent this time. He opened the door and found a young woman standing there. She looked about 22, maybe 23, with long brown hair and eyes filled with fear. Her clothes were elegant but torn, as if she had been running. Snowflakes clung to her coat, and she shivered uncontrollably. "Please," she whispered, her voice breaking. I don't know where else to go. Can I just stay for one night?" Daniel hesitated. Every instinct told him it was dangerous to let strangers in, especially with his daughter asleep in the next room. But something about her eyes, the desperation, made him pause. He saw pain there, the same kind of pain he carried. "You look like you've been through hell," he said cautiously. "What happened?" I can't explain right now. Please, just one night. I'll leave in the morning." He studied her for a moment longer, then finally stepped aside. "All right, one night." The woman introduced herself as Isabella. She didn't give a last name, and Daniel didn't press. He offered her a blanket, made her a cup of tea, and let her sit by the heater. Lily, hearing voices, peeked out from her room. "Daddy, who's that?" she asked sleepily. "This is Miss Isabella," Daniel said gently. "She's just staying the night." Isabella knelt to Lily's level, a soft smile crossing her face. "Hello, sweetheart. You have the most beautiful eyes." Lily grinned. "Thank you. Want to see my teddy bear?" Within minutes, the child had warmed up to the stranger. Daniel watched with surprise as Lily chattered away, showing Isabella her drawings and toys. For the first time in a long while, his daughter's laughter filled the apartment. Something about Isabella's presence felt safe. That night, after Lily had fallen back asleep, Daniel sat at the table with Isabella. "You don't have to tell me everything," he said, "but I need to know you're not bringing trouble to my door. I have my little girl to think about." Isabella lowered her gaze. "I understand, and I promise, I won't cause you harm. I just needed to get away." "From what?" She hesitated, then whispered, "From a world that doesn't let me breathe." Daniel frowned but didn't push. She looked fragile, like one wrong word would break her. So he simply nodded. "All right, you can sleep on the couch. Tomorrow, you'll figure out where to go next." Isabella smiled faintly. "Thank you, Daniel. You don't know how much this means." What was meant to be one night turned into 2, then 3. Each morning, Isabella offered to help around the house, cooking, cleaning, even walking Lily to school when Daniel was working. Slowly, she became part of their little routine. Daniel found himself opening up in ways he hadn't since Emily's death. He told her about his struggles, his dreams of a woodworking shop, his fears of failing Lily. Isabella listened with genuine care, her eyes soft with empathy. But Isabella never spoke much about herself. Daniel only knew that she had run away from something painful, that she had more money than her torn coat suggested, and that her eyes sometimes held a sadness far deeper than her years. One night, after dinner, Daniel asked, "Why did you really come here, Isabella?" She looked at him for a long moment, then said quietly, "Because I needed to remember what it feels like to be seen as a person, not as someone's daughter, not as someone's responsibility. Just me." It wasn't until weeks later that the truth came crashing down. Daniel was fixing a chair in his workshop when he noticed a sleek black car parked across the street. Two men in suits got out, scanning the area. Then, a woman stepped out, graceful, commanding, dressed in designer clothes. When Isabella saw her from the window, her face went pale. "Oh no," she whispered. The woman stormed toward the apartment, fury in her eyes. "Isabella Marie Montgomery, do you have any idea what you've put us through?" Daniel froze. Montgomery. The Montgomery family owned half the city: real estate, hotels, luxury brands. They were billionaires. Isabella bit her lip, tears brimming. "Mother, please, not another word," her mother snapped. "You disappeared for weeks without a trace. Do you know how many people we had searching for you? And you're here, in this place." Her eyes flicked to Daniel, full of disdain. Daniel clenched his jaw. He wasn't ashamed of his home, but the way she said, "place," stung. Isabella stepped forward. "Mother, this is Daniel. He and his daughter took me in when I had nowhere else to go. They showed me kindness when I felt trapped in a gilded cage." Her mother's expression softened only slightly. "Isabella, you belong with your family. Enough of this nonsense." That night, after her mother left with a promise to return, Isabella sat with Daniel. "I should have told you," she said softly. "I'm the daughter of Charles Montgomery. My life is mapped out for me: business, marriage, everything. I couldn't breathe anymore, so I ran. And then, I found you." Daniel stared at her, torn between anger and understanding. "So all this time, you were a millionaire's daughter." "Billionaires," she corrected with a humorless smile. He shook his head. "And you stayed here, with me and Lily. Why?" "Because this was the first time in my life I felt like I belonged somewhere. Not for my last name. Not for what I could bring. Just for being me." Daniel's chest tightened. He wanted to believe her. But he also knew their worlds were galaxies apart. Despite the truth, Isabella didn't leave. She argued with her family, insisting she needed more time. In the weeks that followed, Daniel and Isabella grew closer. There were stolen glances, quiet conversations after Lily fell asleep, moments when their hands brushed and lingered. For the first time since Emily, Daniel felt his heart stir again. But he kept his distance, reminding himself, "She belongs to a world I can never enter." Isabella, however, was determined. One evening, as they washed dishes together, she whispered, "Daniel, I don't care about money, or status, or what my parents think. I care about you, about Lily, about this little family we've built." He met her eyes, torn between desire and doubt. "Isabella, what if they take you away? Then I'll fight my way back." Inevitably, her family returned, this time with her father himself. Charles Montgomery was a tall, imposing man, his presence filling the room as if he owned it. "Mr. Hayes," he said coldly, "thank you for keeping my daughter safe. But this ends now. She's coming home." Daniel straightened his shoulders. "With all due respect, sir, Isabella isn't a child. She can decide where she belongs." Charles's eyes hardened. "She belongs with her family. Not here." Before Daniel could reply, Isabella stepped forward. "Father, stop. I've made my choice. I don't want the empty life you've planned for me. I want this. I want Daniel. I want Lily. I want a life that's real." For the first time, Charles faltered. He saw the determination in his daughter's eyes, the fire that no amount of wealth could extinguish. Finally, he sighed. "If this is truly what you want, then I won't stop you. But know this, our world and his will never be easy to combine." Isabella nodded firmly. "I don't want easy. I want real." Months passed. Life wasn't magically perfect. There were arguments with her family, struggles with money, moments of doubt. But there was also laughter, warmth, and love. Isabella used her inheritance. not to live in luxury, but to help Daniel open his woodworking shop. Together, they built something beautiful, not just in business but in life. Lily adored Isabella, calling her Mom, long before the wedding. And Daniel, once broken and weary, found hope again in the woman who had knocked on his door one winter night. And so, what began as a simple act of kindness turned into a story of love that crossed worlds. Daniel, the poor single dad, and Isabella, the runaway millionaire's daughter, built a life together that no amount of money could ever buy, a life full of laughter, warmth, and belonging. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because sometimes, the people we least expect become the ones who change everything.